Get ready to remove the filter from your timeline. Get ready to break the censorship of social media. Get ready to support the grassroots alternative to establishment propaganda. Get ready for an authentic voice. Get ready to resist cancel culture. Get ready for free speech media. This is FSM.
From the heart of Trucker America, my boy Reed Coverdale, host of The Naturalist Capitalist.
As the left becomes less religious, they become more statist. And as the right becomes more religious, they still become more statist.
Whenever you add government, you by default remove community.
But it actually starts with Bush, right? Like in 2006.
That'd be the most satisfying, like, chair shot, ka-chunk.
And I have no intention of keeping any promise that I make.
The radical messaging is almost more pragmatic sometimes.
It's bad that the state is as big as it is.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to The Naturalist Capitalist. I'm your host, Reed Coverdale. And today on the show, I've got a couple special guests. You probably know them. We got Jack, Lloyd, and the Philosopher. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. How you doing?
Super good.
Yeah.
Talk to your boy Harrison.
I'm doing pretty great. Let's see. I first found out about you back in like 2016, 2017, and it was this short video that I'm sure a lot of the people watching have seen, where you say, "What makes a transaction?" I forget. Why don't you recite it? Because I'm going to screw it up. But or maybe
Okay, well,
if you can remember it.
screw it up. Okay, so what makes a transaction not theft? What makes sex not rape, or vice versa? One of those orders. And what makes taxation not theft? Imagination. And it's like the SpongeBob, which I saw growing up, and he's like, imagination. Yeah. So basically, taxation is theft. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was where I first found out about you, and just it's the little clips like that that really leave an impact. I don't know if you guys have seen mine. It's the bump firing an M1 Garand. It's all over the internet everywhere, but that's what people know me for. And it's funny. Like if you put a lot of work into a long video, some people might watch it, but it's really just like if you can make a 20-second clip that really sticks with people, that's what can really change their mindset or make them remember something or get a point across. Have you guys noticed that too? Or
Oh yeah, I mean, in terms of
Definitely.
just like viral stuff, like the people's attention spans are increasingly or decreasingly they're going down. So if you can get someone's
Increasingly
attention,
shortening.
increasingly shortening, yeah, decreasing in length and girth. So basically, you got to get people's attention like that, and then once
You
they're
got to
past that
bring
point,
them
they share
in,
it.
and then Tom Woods will teach them the facts. They'll be like, look at my charts. Look at the chart in this state. I don't know why Tom Woods sounds like Alex Jones. That's what's going to happen. But yeah, no, I definitely, I think so. I mean, most people are busy and they don't have much time, and already their defenses are up because they're in this worldview and this kind of paradigm of whatever statism or whatever. So, you got to break down their defenses initially, and humor is a good way to do that, or humanizing yourself in some other way. Humor is a way to humanize yourself, technically, or making beautiful art, or making music, or doing a podcast, but you're really cool and you're really nice to talk to and listen to, and people like hearing you. That actually are ways to help people come to hear you and then become more open-minded, because now their defenses are lowered because they like something about you. They connect with you on some other way besides, hey, I'm a libertarian and you need to know that taxation is theft. And you agree yet? You agree? Like, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, if that's like the whole focus, it's really hard for someone to, first of all, see you as a human and connect with you, and they're just going to be pretty defensive there.
Yeah, libertarians. I like to say we're fiscally conservative and socially awkward. We're not really that good at relating to people
For
outside of our
yourself,
public.
Reed.
Okay.
Your collectivist language. I am not socially awkward in any way.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, but libertarians are like the easiest group to collectivize ever. That's what I've found, at least. Like they're the most similar people out of any. I mean, you know, maybe that's not completely true, but it's very easier.
As
There has been a
libertarians
rise.
has like
in-
so many
yeah,
libertarians have autism. I'm
You're
like,
like-
hey, speak for yourself, and then I'm like acting in this way.
Like the rise in
I'm like,
libertarianism coincided with the rise in autism. Coincidence?
Probably
Okay.
not.
Like a conspiracy.
Coincidence?
That's so
Nah, yeah.
funny.
But-
So I was wondering, what is your origin story for both of you guys? It's very rare that someone is a libertarian their whole lives, so I have no idea about either of you. But Fa, why don't you go first? What's your background? Were you a massive statist like Carrie Wedler or me or like all these other people who end up like throwing it aside, or were you always sort of questioning things?
No, dude, no. So like I would say I was similar to like Carrie, like West Coast chill vibes, but also you know, going through the public school system, becoming like, you know, you're lefty. I think I would have been an SJW if I didn't find philosophy. Like I would have been like, hey, I'm triggered, watch your language, you know, and because so for me, the way my origin story, so no, I wasn't a libertarian. I was like indoctrinated. I bring up public school in that way, and I share a lot of similarities with Carrie in that way because we both liked Obama, and we liked we thought welfare was okay, or I thought welfare was okay, and just thought you just have to monitor people and make sure that they're looking for a job, and that, you know, like I was more like independent. That's what I would say. But I thought Obama was cool and he was really good at speaking. Also, he's like kind of hip, and he talked to some rappers that I liked on television. So that's kind of where my mindset was. I was pretty like, okay, I got to be a doctor. I need to be a doctor, status, good grades, A+, you know, all that. Like that was my modus operandi for a long time. And the way that I became an anarchist or a voluntarist or a libertarian was through Stefan Molyneux. So I always bring up Stefan Molyneux in my interviews of how I became an ANCAP. And that was how. It was first through listening to his show and from a perspective of self-knowledge and trying to analyze my childhood and my history and come to understand myself and why I feel the way I do, think the way I do, have the habits that I had at the time, and to really try to change for the better. And from listening to his shows, he talked about voluntarism. And eventually, once I connected with how and remembered the times my consent was violated growing up, or the times that my property rights weren't respected, I immediately became an anarchist and thought, okay, so that's what an anarchist is by definition. I just don't want to initiate violence against others, and I respect consent. I respect every individual human being's consent over their body and their property. I was like, okay, I'm an anarchist. So that's kind of where I became one. It was interestingly just first from a bit of me trying to be healthier and have self-knowledge. So that's how I came to love philosophy, and just as part of connecting with those moral principles, became an anarchist. So yeah.
What about you, Jack?
Well, me, a little bit different because I came more from the neocon, Republican side.
Conservative couple.
Right. Yeah. Of course, that's definitely not the same anymore. At least thank the Gets. But from my perspective, I had the mentality of like giving lip service to freedom and those concepts, but like being, really excited about war and, government intervention abroad and things like that. So I definitely had a lot to kind of explore intellectually. And I'd say that like kind of the big triggering points for me were in college, where I was just studying about the American eugenics movement. And I hadn't heard about that before. And so in learning about some of the events that took place, for example, just Carrie Buck being forcibly sterilized at the order of Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, that kind of, stuck for me and made me think, wow, okay, they were forcibly sterilizing people in the United States, like 60, 70,000 plus people, even up until like the 70s in Virginia. I'm like, what else don't I know? If I don't know that. So that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of really relooking at everything I knew, looking up everything I could in American history, Alex Jones stuff, of course. That's smart. Yeah, he had some good stuff back then. And just kind of, revisiting everything I thought I knew, because just it was so shocking. The idea that, wait, what, this happened in America, and I didn't know that, the eugenics movement started here. So, years went on as I kept researching, started to like look into more resources on libertarian topics and talk to people, and then eventually made my way down to the No State Project by Mark Stevens. His website had like this thing saying, should goods and services be provided at the barrel of a gun? And I thought, well, okay, I mean, ethically, no, right? That, obviously think services and goods should be, paid for voluntarily. So that kind of took me over the edge. And then I basically became a voluntarist around, 2010, and had just, basically been doing stuff for liberty ever since.
That's a long time.
Yeah. I mean, before that, I was like a big libertarian and, moved down the ratchet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, are you guys into political involvement, or do you think that it's a waste of time and you should just spend the time messaging? Like, what do you guys think about the Libertarian Party? Is it a joke, or what's your take on that?
We have like slightly different, similar opinions, but slightly different. But
I guess I'll find out. Let's see if anything's changed. I don't know. No, you go first.
You go first.
You go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go first. So for me, I mean, maybe it's my personality type. I don't know. I'm an ESTJ. I kind of like, I like politics. I don't know. I'm an extrovert. I like organizing people for common goals, as an ESTJ likes. And, I think that there is a place for it. I think the biggest place for it as libertarians, ACABs, voluntarists, is as philosophical figures, as people to change minds, just like Ron Paul as a really good example. His focus was on the philosophy and of getting people to understand this idea of individual liberty. Like, you can look at so many clips of Ron Paul that have so many likes on YouTube that people just love, because he's just encapsulating in like, a sentence or two, this idea of liberty, and gets you so passionate and riled up. Like, yeah, you're right. I own my body, and so I think definitely that I personally think, there is a place for it if you can do it well. And it's easier said than done. He had his own whole life. He was a doctor. He was a dad. He was a good, a good husband for decades. He had a life. He had a respectable life too, one that people would admire, like seeing that he became a grandpa and stuff like that. And so it takes a long time to be an effective leader, an effective thought leader. And that's what I see the purpose of politics as, at least for libertarians, and our purpose with politics, because we're not status. Like, our purpose with politics isn't to like gain power and take over the world, right, and dictate. It's actually to try and take over and change minds and try to secure liberty, right, and individual rights. So I think from that bent of changing minds, it can be very effective. It just takes a rare, unique person who has all their S together, and their philosophy in check, can think quick on the spot, quick-witted, very knowledgeable. And it's a challenge. It's but I think it's effective for sure if you can do it right. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that we have like too much material disagreement. I think that,
Cool.
but yeah, I was gonna say I was like that's something strange, but yeah,
Eh.
because I'm a voluntarist first and foremost, so I don't really like political solutions generally. But that said,
Yeah.
I am definitely not one who ignores the reality of what's going on, with the state and with people's minds being changed. And I do recognize that many people will only listen to political things during election cycles, and there is obviously a strong place for having people who are in politics to get out a principled message of liberty, like Ron Paul did, and some others. So there's some in that camp who just are very apolitical, and they see it as a total rejection. We're going to live outside of it. For me, I am just like an all means person, so I think that it requires that is moving toward liberty requires all levels of engagement.
All ethical means.
Right. I mean, yeah, like definitely all ethical. Although some will argue, well, that being a politician is not ethical because you might get a salary or you're doing things that involve the force of the state. So I would say that
it's a weird gray area because you're like compelled to be in the system. So
I mean, there's arguments I think for both sides, right? Because people will say, Ron Paul, oh, well, yeah, he was a good person for liberty in terms of communication, but he still got a huge government salary for life.
He did.
So, there's definitely critiques that could be made about that, but I'm not going to ignore the reality that using the political process to change minds, that itself, I think, is very valuable. And there are many people, and I include myself in there, who are not going to go from day one, being a Republican or Democrat or, something else, and then day two, voluntarist anarchist. I think that is a lot more rare for someone to move that quickly, especially someone who's very, quote unquote, educated, like schooled, I should say, where they spent a lot of time building up a lot of defenses and psychological constructs they have to kind of break down. So in that realm, there's a number of people who I think they're only going to be reached at that crucial moment where they don't really care otherwise, but because it's a political hot season, presidential year, they will listen to what's going on, just kind of just
like they'll watch the debates,
right?
They'll actually look at the news because they
right.
Something about somebody taking over the seat of power over your life, and especially now with the president being able to like overwrite the legislative branch and issue executive orders,
right?
As if they're laws. Like a lot of people pay attention now. Just every 4 years, they're like, "Oh shoot, who's being chosen?"
Right?
And then they try to, they ask their friends, they're like, "Who you like?" And they're like, Trump sucks.
Yeah.
Biden's great. If Biden gets in, things will be over. Like just the weirdest. Anyway,
not everybody wakes up that quickly. Exactly. Like some people need decompression time.
Right. But the point is they're engaged. Like they're looking at the hashtag Biden, hashtag Trump. So hey, libertarians doing hashtag Biden, hashtag Trump may get, some more attention at that time. Or with all the shutdowns,
Right. I'd say on that, piggybacking real quick on that, just the concept of like what the Mises Caucus is doing is something that I expressly, without hesitation, support, because the idea of taking over the Libertarian Party, and I use that language very intentionally, in order to actually get them to have the best possible messaging, makes sense. It's a private organization. They are political in terms of running candidates, but it itself is actually a private organization that gets funds from people, and they have tons of different ways that they can use their various communication methods, email, mailing, their social media, things like that. And whoever's at the helm of that can very readily reach millions of people because they're all tapped into different networks. So the idea of saying, oh yeah, like use that pre-existing structure, a private organization, to reach more people effectively, I think that's a great idea. So
So as far as messaging and getting your particular messages out there, since I knew about you first, I wanted to ask about the Pholosopher. When did you start that? How did you get that going? What was the impetus behind it? Just give us the lowdown on it.
Yeah, well, so the start was I wanted to share what I was learning about self-knowledge and the importance of philosophy, of valuing truth over falsehood above all else as like your core mode of being, and focus as being the way to change the world and heal the world and actually achieve a world where our rights are respected. You can go out and you're not afraid, and you can actually build and create things with other humans. So anyway, I really wanted to share those ideas, and I had conversations with Jack and was brainstorming different ideas, some funny names. But ultimately I landed with, okay, well, what do I love? I love pho. Pho reminds me of home. It reminds me of my mom, my grandma, my dad, my family, and just love and warmth, so it's always near and dear to me, and I ate that all the time growing up. So I love pho. And I also love philosophy. Philosophy is what saved my life, in my opinion. It's if I didn't discover philosophy, this idea that you should value truth over falsehood, and what is that, and what constitutes truth, and how do you distinguish, that really, saved my life. It changed the course of my life for like completely 180. So those two things, that's how I came up with the name. And I was like, well, I'll just say the philosopher. It's actually pronounced the same if you replace it with the word pho, because it's pronounced pho. And then, yeah, so that's how I chose it, the name. And that's why I started it, because I just wanted to help change minds and hopefully get other people to value philosophy and live happier, better lives too.
So is Facebook your biggest platform? Is that where you have the most reach?
Not the most reach anymore. It's where I have the most likes and follows. I mean, I don't think I have the most reach. Like, sometimes my posts on Instagram go farther, and I only have 3,000 followers. Like, I used to have 11,000. Then it went way farther than Facebook at the time.
Facebook bottles,
Yeah, and I have like it fluctuates, 90,000 likes, 100,000 followers. But the posts definitely even go farther on somewhere where I just have a tiny percentage of
like YouTube
following.
community, like mine.
Community goes farther. It's 28,000 subscribers on YouTube. So it's quite incredible how much throttling there is on Facebook now. It's not the same as it was back in the days of the taxation is theft video, for example. Like, part of the reason it would not be able to go that viral.
Not anymore. Yeah, because Facebook changed everything. Yeah.
So
yeah. Didn't you just have your Instagram account nuked recently?
It was yeah, exactly. It was the one that was almost 11,000, and it was right before the elections, like right after the debates. I did post some pictures. Like I posted a picture in front of the TV, and there was like Trump and Biden debating, and I just held up middle fingers. But I don't know what it was, because that's part of the problem, is they just disable you without reason. So
I mean, I hate how so many libertarians don't critique censorship, and they're always talking about how it's only going after nut job right wingers. It's like, no, it really isn't. I mean, I've got lots of friends who have been removed without any reason, just like you said. I'm friends with a guy named Magnus Panvidya on Twitter. He's only been around like a few months, and he had 8,000 followers, and they just nuked him, didn't give him a reason why. And it's not just happening to Alex Jones or Republicans. It's happening to people who have important things to say.
Well, Alex Jones has important things to say too.
Yeah. Well, I'm good friends with Ryan Dawson, and he hates Alex Jones, so that's a little point of contention. But
well, it's fun because it's like ever since like Alex Jones was removed, now everything that he says now comes true perfectly. So it's great.
Yeah. I mean, what I say is it's not so much that he's right, but it's like even the crazy things he says, they're more correct than what the mainstream media is telling us. So it's just, it's insane. I agree. But Jack, did you start Libertarian Guys with Asian Wives, or is that something you just joined, or is what was that all
I
about?
created that.
Okay.
I created many things in my day.
Did you know that Jack is a libertarian guy with an Asian wife?
Yes, I definitely am. And actually, that was fun because I was just doing it kind of like just a jokey thing at first, but then like
Right.
there were so many libertarian guys with Asian wives who like came to the group like, all right, we're just making this real. And now I have like literally like hundreds of actual
funny.
like couples like hanging out in our group and stuff. And
Yeah, that's why I didn't know if you created it or if a bunch of you guys were just like, oh, wow, look at how many of us. Because I just found out about it a couple months ago. So.
yeah. No.
That's so funny.
Yeah, no, I created that as kind of just like a semi-humorous thing, and then it no joke, it was just I'm like, oh, okay, this is an idea whose time has come finally. So there are so many libertarian guys with Asian wives.
I mean, I'll look
it's
at
truly
the
incredible.
memes and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like that's often my reaction.
Yeah. That's what I love what Fire Hurricane says. Is this satire? Yeah. No, I love making fun of.
Is this satire? I love the letters.
So much of it has been just a pleasure for me to just expose how actually like racist and bigoted the woke people are.
Right.
Because the second that you don't align with them ideologically, then all of a sudden they're coming at you with the most bigoted ways you
their
can
assumptions
attack you.
are really informative and telling about their worldview. Like their assumption that I was a mail order bride or that I'm submissive. I'm submissive.
He just wanted a submissive wife.
You can ask Jack. I'm not submissive.
Yeah, that's not the vibe you give off in your videos, that's for sure. So
with the AR, like that's a shotgun move, but you know.
Yeah. No, it's just incredible just how much it exposes the, I guess you could say, projection of actual bigotry that a lot of these people have, like deep in their psychology, because a lot of these people who came to the, critical race theory things or modern woke SJWism, within a matter of 4 years ago, are probably calling people slurs. I'm not going to say what they are here. Obviously, I want your channel to be up, but, F word, slurs. That's not, that the fornicating under the king thing, like they're calling each other R words and stuff like that.
It's so
like,
contradictory.
Just a couple years ago, these same people were doing that.
Stereotypes. They're against talking about racial stereotypes, but in action, they make racial stereotypes.
Right.
Like they imply, like, okay, whatever, all Asian people are the model minority or whatever, and they just like embody white oppression. Like all regions, like I don't know, like they themselves are collectivizing and grouping people based off race and judging them based off of just purely their race.
Right.
It's so funny. I mean, not even just on a personal level in my life, but even seeing it happen at government levels. Joe Biden was bragging about how many Black and female and Asian or whatever, name your category of people that he was putting in to his cabinet had nothing to do with what their experience level was or what their policies were. It was just, hey, look at how diverse the people, their skin color and their genders. And
it's not about those people's ideas.
No.
It's not saying someone who you really respect philosophically supports you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Tom Woods supports me. I mean, he doesn't, but I'm just saying.
If he did.
If he did.
Tom Woods has supported many a great late night treats.
Oh gosh. Yeah, Denny's.
Yeah.
Okay. But but yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was saying with that.
Just that basically, the whole leftist woke crowd is literally a bunch of collectivist bigot. Yeah.
You were talking about Biden and the whole,
But so you found an effective way to reveal that through humor, which is more effective than screaming at somebody, or even more effective than sometimes writing out something thoughtful. Sometimes people
it's more fun.
Yeah,
I just had to say it's more fun.
It's more fun, but I mean, it catches on more if it's fun. I mean, so many. We were talking about it earlier. So few people think about anything. You need to catch their attention with a little clip. So if you can catch their attention with humor. Sometimes that will drive the nail a lot deeper. I mean, George Carlin could change people's worldviews with a joke, where they were sitting in front of someone who's very smart and speaking very eloquently. It could just go right over their heads. Have you found that to be an effective tool using humor? Or?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just even you're an example too. You're like, oh, I remembered you from the beginning of that, and it just stuck with you that little bit. You may not remember the whole video end to end or all the points, but just that little bit. So Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've been making people laugh for years.
I mean, since I was a kid, I always try to make people laugh. So that's how long I've been trying to make people laugh.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a common theme.
I think it's something the liberty movement's kind of lacking too. I mean, I think humor really catches on because so many libertarians or anarchists are just so pompous and self-absorbed and self-righteous. I know I'm collectivizing again, but I really think like
Speak for
libertarians are people to collectivize. I mean, that stereotype exists for a reason. Let's say. Do you think that's true? I mean, do you feel kind of unique that you with your niche that you guys are doing? Or
I think maybe there's a bias there when you look on the internet. Just like if you look on Twitter, you're like, oh, is everyone an SJW out there? But you go out, you go to the store, you go to the gym, and you're like, oh no, most people aren't. Most people are just going about their lives, trying to have a family, whatever. So.
But libertarians.
Yeah. All right. I'll give it intermittence. So I would say libertarians. Yeah. Because I think libertarianism is relatively a more modern phenomenon in terms of more widespread adoption. Going back even just 100, 200 or so more years, you get to a handful of actual libertarians around the world in terms of actual philosophical libertarians. So for a lot of people who come to it, from what I've seen, they come to it either because they're like the ones who are coming up with something new. You know what I mean? They're the one of the new kind of whatever venue of new liberty things. If it's a new, thought leader, or podcaster, blog writer, whatever, so they're like really into what they're doing in terms of that, that you might say there might be an air of, I don't know if you want to say pompousness or arrogance or self-centeredness with it. That's a possibility, but there too. And then a big part of people coming to liberty also is like trauma. Right, like a lot of people become libertarians because they had really bad childhoods. Right, the government abused them. Right, they had bad relationships or things like that. Things that made them go, "Wow, I really value my consent being respected."
Yeah, exactly.
See what I mean? So there's libertarianism still burgeoning in that way.
And out of those two, one's more outspoken. So that's what I mean by the bias. So thanks for the
Hey, it's just a little bit of basketball. You just, you dribble it, pass it, bam, done.
That's hilarious. Oh, by the way, I love your intro. But anyway, the bias.
Right. Because it's just the nature, I think, of what's a fundamentally intellectual movement that has a lot of newcomers to it. It's not something that's culturally normalized in terms of like people accept it. Like, oh, I was born to Christian parents, so they like just kind of like identify that way. You don't have people like at this point, although it's starting to change now. I was born with libertarian parents, so I guess I'm just a libertarian nominally. Like
that's true. That will be interesting to see.
Right. It will be. It's about to be. Yeah.
Yeah. What I like about what you guys are saying is that it's not just about opposition to the state. You have actual philosophy that you try to give to people that encourages them to live, live a good life and take care of each other and take care of themselves. And that seems really important to me, because if you just live to oppose something, then it's kind of empty and you don't really have a strong message of hope for people. I think Ron Paul, he obviously loved freedom more than he hated the government. And I'm stealing that from Carrie Wedler. She said that when she was on my show, but it's so true. Like he was obviously passionate about freedom, not just, not just hating the state. Cause you see so many libertarians who it's obviously just hate the state. And then that's about the entirety of their existence.
That was me in the initial stages. I feel like there are stages,
Yeah.
First you're like so mad. Right.
Is that a feeling?
Okay. Okay. I think I've observed, I've witnessed myself and others. Like in the beginning, you're pretty mad because you're like just figuring it out. Right. And you're so appalled. But eventually it settles in. Right. You're like, okay, what's new? Oh, yeah. Stealing more money. Same old story. What's next? What do I do? Do I have a family? Do I become a peaceful parent? Do I get involved in whatever? Do I start a podcast? That's common thing that libertarians like to do. See, now I'm collectivizing. That's a stereotype.
Either you make memes, you become a podcaster,
meme lord,
or you live to share someone else's memes and podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of the times you can hook somebody by hating something, right? And then, like you said, they have to graduate to loving something. But I mean, you are right that a lot of the people, the best way to hook them is say, hey, this is screwing you over. And then they finally realize that. They're like, oh, you're so right. It is pretty rare that the hopeful message is what catches them in the beginning. It's more the negativity of the state's existence.
I mean, I don't know. It just depends. Like I've seen people who are really into self help and healing, and they're not libertarian, they're not political, but they have this empathy and this focus on the individual just because they they become peaceful parents because they already connected with their childhood, but they're not expressly libertarian. So, you know, like that's someone that is you could change their mind basically. That's someone that you may not hear about or know about because they're just living their life and they're just trying to heal, they're just trying to meditate, they're just trying to whatever, like do better, but they're out there. So it just they may not be so angry, like I'm just saying there's different, it's different. And we just may not know because we have a bias again on the internet, right? You're not going to see everyone commenting that there is to be. So, certain types of people like to engage online and not everyone does. So you may not see everybody. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all want to kind of put our experience onto everybody else. That's a human that's a human thing that we tend to do. We tend to think, okay, this is how I got here, so everybody else will get there the same way. And then if they're not getting there the same way, or if you see other people reaching out in a way that you don't like or that wouldn't resonate with you,
right,
the tendency is to stop them from doing that or something, which is really dumb, because you're completely right that different people are going to react to different forms of messaging.
Exactly. There's probably people that would listen to you that would just like ignore a video if they saw my face, like just my face. It doesn't even,
because you don't have a mustache like that. If you had a beautiful mustache like that, they would.
I know they're trying to do your mustache.
They would immediately stop.
I'm not some man's man over here, so they might be like, "Who's this?" They might skip.
You're gonna be Fu Manchu.
Oh, that would be there you go. That's a great name right off the bat.
That you bring
He's now going to come out with this now. He's going to okay, I'm going to have another channel called The Naturalist Fu Manchu. And then
That's good.
He's like, I'm going to capture the Asian market now.
That's funny.
But yeah, what you said, dead on. Different strokes and different folks.
I think that's a great point, though. I just, it's all about the individual at the end of the day. And I think it's, I like focusing on philosophy because from that's where everything else comes, like, and falls. Like, if you understand how to discern truth from falsehood, you can go into any discipline with that kind of mindset, and like figure it out. Now you're like, have the joy of learning the truth and discovery about reality, and it's fun, and you can apply that to anything. And I want people to live a good life, like enjoy your life. I don't know if there's a heaven or a hell. Like, I don't know if there's another life when we die. It's possible that when your eyes close, that's it. You're dead and your consciousness just ceases to be, right? Like, think about it. Like, it's so precious, this life that we have. And that's why I value things like these ideas of individualism, of focusing on consciousness and being aware, or empathy, nonviolent communication, peaceful parenting. Like, I just find life so beautiful, all the good parts of life and love, and when you're kind to each other and you help each other out, like, there are some beautiful things that exist in this world. And I just want people to focus on building those things. And I understand, like, beauty is subjective. I'm just saying, like, together we can build, good things and have that be the focus instead of tearing each other down, trying to shame each other, call each other names, and make someone feel all low energy and mad. And, shame and not building anything and destructive. Like I want our fellow humans to be in a mode of creativity, of that kind of childlike wonder of loving this world. Like you see all kids, right? Like before they're indoctrinated by the public school system or their parents or religion or whatever, and they're shamed, their curiosity is shamed out of them, or their desire to learn about something is shamed out of them. Like, oh, why are you learning about the digestive systems of dinosaurs? I always bring up that example because it'll stay with me with Ethan. But so like, why do you focus on that? Like, that's not productive. You should focus on STEM. STEM's important for you. Like, someone else just dictating your life. But there are kids, like, before all that happens, they're just like, whoa, what's this? Well, how does this work? What's that? What do I do if I do this? Or why are you like that? Why do you think this way? And they're very inquisitive, and they just love it. They just love learning about reality. And that's that kind of mindset that I never want a human to lose. And maybe it's because I've been through so much trauma and I know what it's like to have that, to be in a state of consciousness where I don't have any shame and I just like love the world. I just feel so happy, to, modes where I've been depressed and I have so much trauma. I don't want other humans to go through that. And I think the way to minimize those kinds of sad childhoods and then adulthoods and elderlyhoods is through philosophy and just this love of truth above all else. So yeah,
I really like what you said there on a couple notes. One is that it's philosophy. It's the overall reason for life, or the search for truth, because you can try to change someone's mind on one issue, and a lot of people think that because of what a scary time we're living in with this authoritarian government, that if we can just change their minds on this one issue, that's great, and I don't really care about getting into their philosophy at all. I disagree, because you might get them on that one issue, but what if that one issue is like the lockdowns or something, and then the lockdowns go away? What have you really accomplished? Unless you've actually changed the way that they're thinking, unless you've changed what they're holding dear to their hearts, it doesn't really matter. And then the other thing you said is the search for truth, which I feel that the problem with this society is that there is no truth anymore. Nobody cares about being consistent. Nobody cares about actually finding out what is true. They just want to find out what's easy or comforting to them at any given time. I think that you're 100% right. That's what we've got to, I don't know if it's even getting back to it. I don't know if we were ever that way, but that's what we've got to encourage people to do, is try to find out what is real and then try to live out of that, because that's the only way we win ever. Otherwise, it's, if it's just subjective battles here and there, you might win a battle, but you're never going to win the war because you're not changing the way they think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like, how do you persuade? Well, there's kind of like the three different ideas of what is it, like logos, pathos, ethos. So like logic, so reason, logic, feelings, just emotions, and then the other one was ethics, right? Ethics, like morality or something.
It might be appeal to morality. I'm gonna say,
yeah, there's like appeal to emotion, morality, or logic.
Just slipped my mind at that moment.
Yeah, ethos means custom.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I think it's attractive too. I think people really latch on to Tom Woods because he uses emotion, but only in a logical way. I think it's a two-pronged thing. You need to grasp onto people's emotion, but then use reason to drive that emotion. Because if you're just emotional or if you're just reasonable, then I don't know, you're going to fall flat if you're just reasonable. And if you're just emotional, you have nothing centering your philosophy around anything. So who cares?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Appealing to both sides of human experience in terms of logic and emotion is really important, I think, for people to resonate on like a really deep overall level, like not just intellectually, but to feel happy and fulfilled. in pursuing philosophy and maximizing consent. So,
yeah. Oh, and
absolutely.
I want to correct. You looked up ethos. Thanks.
Ethos, yeah.
Ethos. It's so it's like appealing to one's own credibility,
Character, notability.
right?
Yeah.
So
could be-
saying like, oh, I'm like a grandpa. You should listen to me about
Right.
my advice on relationships or something.
Yeah.
You know. But just kind of like encapsulating all three, like not just being, oh, I only do debates and reason, and there's nothing wrong with that if you enjoy it. I'm just saying, like it's just purely about this idea of persuasion, right? How do you change someone's mind? Well, do they think you're credible, right? Do you when you talk to them, is it alienating to talk to you, or is it nice to talk to you, right? It's like partially your feeling, and then 3, do you actually know how to think? Can you think critically? Do you propose ideas that aren't contradictory and have reason and evidence to back it up? And those things I think make a really effective persuader. And if you're talking about libertarians and what you're trying to do, if we're trying to change minds, like that's something you can focus on as a libertarian. And all of that, of course, comes from just working on yourself. So this idea, back to the theme of we're talking about, like, really enjoy your life. Just, you're a unique individual human being with your own experiences and childhood and sets of parents, and it's cool. And just let's try to focus on the awesome things and promote those and really build this not just hatred of tyranny and a culture of hating tyranny and coercion, but a culture of really loving liberty and loving voluntary trade, loving being giving, loving being compassionate, empathetic, and having that kind of society as well. And I think would be good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It's what I was saying earlier. If you don't have anything beyond the hatred, then it's going to be pretty empty. So you have to have something to inspire people beyond just being against something. And I think we're talking about the logic and emotion, pairing those together. There's a lot of temptation to ditch the logic and just go with emotion to try to appeal to more people and try to take a short-term gain over a long-term loss is what I would say it's doing. I think it's really important to keep yourself grounded in what actually logically makes sense. And it can be a short-term loss sometimes because you could probably get more people if you were just going for their emotions and telling them things that aren't true. But that's what the statists do, right? That's how they get their crowds rallied up. That's what Trump did. That's what Obama did. That's what everybody does. So to be different, we have to really tell people the truth while trying to couple it with emotion. You agree? I'm assuming you agree, obviously, but
yeah, I mean, of course, but and partially it's just like it's the statists do that because they don't care. They don't want it. They don't care about the truth. They want money. They want power. They want control. And most of them just think others shouldn't have it. They don't like that others have as much freedom as they do, and they want to clamp down on that because they want to control all the resources in this world. So it's just like we just differ in mindsets. Like we want human, like we're talking about love and loving one another and like individualism and like analyzing your childhood and thinking it's cool to talk about stories about our shared histories as humans. But these people are in a whole nother mindset. They're like, no, how do I get more money? And like, who's these scum? Like, how do we get rid of half the world's population?
But they certainly use like emotional tactics to manipulate, right? Like, for example, like the Democrats
understand human psychology.
Yeah, for example, like the Democratic Party will appeal to people's wanting a sense of safety net and security and family, and so they use a lot of that imagery to like kind of make it seem like, oh yeah, you're part of this big collectivist family and do things for the common good and help you out your fellow
Join
person.
the Democrats, we'll take care of you, like social. And then the Republicans, well, mainstream Republicans now are rhinos. They're just like, we'll protect you. We're gonna be strong. We're gonna be like the strongest people in the world.
Or they'll sometimes appeal to traditional family values. Republicans obviously like to point to those concepts. Two-parent household. Those kinds of things. But I think that libertarians could very easily use those same type of tactics in a more effective way, and I mean that to say like long-term effective growing philosophy and having stability in people's mindset changes by engaging culture with in every kind of element and every kind of manner possible, whether that's things like the Tuttle Twins. Obviously they're very successful at engaging young people and parents, providing a market demand, which is
their
having
books
reading
are
materials.
so successful, and then they just got fully funded and more for their
pilot.
cartoon.
Yeah. So they got 3 episodes funded. So
incredible.
That's just one example among many, where you have the message of liberty being delivered in a format that does appeal to emotions and other market needs, kind of more general audience needs. And I think that continuing that kind of impact on culture in whatever way possible, music, movies, shorts, skits, comedy, art, comics, whatever it is, getting that out there is very instrumental to building the culture of liberty and having it be something that's sustainable.
And I would say it's all needed. It includes academia.
Oh,
I love the Mises Institute. I love that it's like, hey, you want, rigor? You want theses? Like on what? Theses. On like, I don't know why, like how defense would work in an anarcho-capitalist society. You want a whole like volume on that? Go to Mises Institute. And I just part of the beauty and what we like, what I love as a capitalist is just this idea of like specialization, and it really truly values the individual. There, it's just like, hey, individuals happening to choose what they like and enjoy the most, and what they tend to be good at, and like developing those skills. And so it's awesome that there's someone like Tom Woods or Bob Murphy out there, or Murray Rothbard or Dave Smith. Like there's all different kinds of people and skills, and I couldn't say that any one of them necessarily like brings more value. I think that
Tom Woods brings a lot of value though.
It does. I mean, you could talk about some objective metrics, like whatever
citations,
who has more
publication,
but
Facebook
I just
friends.
mean like there's a market. As long as there's a market, right? I think it should exist, and you just go based off the market. If someone's funding Tom, then there's a market for Tom. Someone's funding, Dave Smith. Or
sounds like you're gonna
or...
buy Tom Woods now. Like, there's a market for Tom. All right, we got an NFT of Tom Woods.
There you go.
Yeah,
like LPMC
gets you. One free pool hangout a year.
Yeah, I bring this up a lot
and
because,
your own ebook.
Something you mentioned, Reed, is like when you start doing these things, if there's somebody out there who just doesn't like your messaging or the way you do it, they're gonna, not always, but some people will say, "Oh, you suck. You should stop doing this. Like, this is cringe."
Yeah, you ever get that, Reed? You ever get, "This is cringe"?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny though. It's usually from people with like 45 followers on Twitter and 20 subscribers on YouTube. Right. It's like, okay, well, it's like you said, is there a market for it? Like, if there's a market for it and you're receiving customers, then you're probably doing something right, and you can ignore the haters.
Right. Yeah.
But so just try it, do what you like. And I just, that's more of like a word to like people who, because I get this question a lot. What can I do? I want to change minds. How do I help? How do I get active? And it's like, well, just think about it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know you unless I know you. But if I don't, right, if I don't know you, then I don't know your skills. I don't know your interests.
Right.
And that's more my general idea to people is just like, well, are you interested in this?
Right.
Would you enjoy doing this? Is this a passion of yours? And go from there. That should be the focus, is like your own, self-enjoyment and satisfaction, like first and foremost, and that you ethically and philosophically agree. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And speaking of having a market for something, I think you guys do very well. You got the Voluntarist Origins 5 right now, right? You're trying to do a fundraiser to keep that going. Do you want to just plug that? And
wow,
sure.
Through like 7 campaigns.
The 7.
No.
Try 12.
No, I mean just me and you.
Oh, just me and you, yes.
But you, of course.
So basically the latest comic book issue I have out for Voluntarist, the comic series, and for those of you who don't know, who are watching, basically I run a comic book series that the universe uniquely sets as its ethical backdrop and underlying principles the idea that the government's bad, right? Which it might sound like, is that something that's like weird or common or something like that? But when you look at most mainstream comic books, even most independents, and their TV or Amazon, Netflix movie adaptations, they're so ridiculously statist, and Malthusian. And I was even just reminded that just recently, rereading Invincible, the comic book series. Just so much of the comic book world revolves around worship of the state, and that people should be ruled, and that's a default norm, and that's okay. And the CIA is good, and they're always there to help you, right?
Right.
The adaptation
That's
of The Boys.
true.
So I really hated that, and it's what inspired me to be like, okay, you know what? Let's make a comic book universe where that's flipped around. And it still has a lot of your typical comic storybook writing in terms of, it's focused on actual characters and their character development, things like that. But it's just a whole different backdrop to the principles and the objectives, including in this case, fighting the literal U.S. government who kidnaps the protagonist's parents. So it's something that I've really enjoyed doing for many years now. And, we've done very well with the past several campaigns, them all going above 100% funding. So hoping for the same thing on this campaign right now for Origins 5 on Indiegogo. So
cool. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about that's coming up soon that people should know about? I know recently, you just went on the Ron Paul Liberty Report. That was pretty cool. But you guys got anything you want to talk about that at all, or do you guys have anything else coming up that you want to plug? Or
Sure. Well, that was fun. I love talking to Daniel, and I'll just say that. And I
watch
really,
it. Yeah, just go watch it. You haven't seen it, just go watch it.
Dream come true, right? Ending up on the Ron Paul Liberty Report. That's I think that's the top. I've been on Part of the Problem, but I feel like the Liberty Report is another step above that. And so
it felt really cool. It did feel very cool, I will say. And one day I'll meet Ron Paul, hopefully.
Yeah, same here. I would love to meet Ron Paul. So
yeah. So that was really cool and spontaneous. So that was nice to be on the show with Daniel and meet him. And didn't know that he loved the song Mask Order and sang it on the way to the gym. I'm honored. It's so cool.
It's very good. Go check it out, everybody.
Yeah, Mask Order.
Yeah. And then they shared Tom Wood's house to the Ron Paul Liberty Report page on Instagram.
That was fun shooting the Tom Wood's house music video.
Yeah, that was.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, I got one super chat in here.
Oh yeah. Oh, Ludwig von
Tom Wood's
Mises
house.
Pieces. We just connected today. Hello, Tom Wood's house acapella.
Tom Wood's house.
Okay, do you want to do the beginning? Because then you can whisper. Okay.
Oh sure.
Get down, get down, get. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, get down, get down, get down, get down, get down.
And then you go
get down, get down, get down at
Tom Wood's house.
down at
Tom Wood's house.
get down at
Tom Wood's house.
get down, get down.
This is some Tom Woods ASMR right
Lay
now.
up in the party.
Yeah.
Tom Wood's house. Everybody chill. Ooh, okay.
It was a lot of fun. We were at his house and we were under so much
There you go.
pressure to get it done within a limited time because basically we were there
For
and
the
they just cleaned up.
Right.
And the house party was going to be a certain time. So oh crap, we have to shoot this. And it was tough to get everything I wanted to do done. And I didn't do everything as exactly I wanted, but we made the most of it and just bam, pounded it out, went to a bunch of different rooms, did drone video. It was crazy. And then people are coming in to Pete Quinones. Yeah, he came in and they're like, oh hi Pete, and he's watching us we're putting a bunch of camera equipment together, and he's changing in the living room. Yeah, Pete's oh hey guys.
Say he.
What?
You just said he.
He. Yeah, Pete.
Oh, I thought you said he was changing in the living room.
Oh, if I did, it was a slip.
Oh, okay. That's what I heard too, and it was funny. So
my bad.
Yeah, I heard it too.
Whoops.
Don't tell everyone.
Yeah, don't tell everyone who just heard.
It's not Buckchan, it's Falcoon.
Yeah, Falcoon. So there's people coming in. There was people came in to set up for food stuff. We're just trying to pound out this music video while we're doing it. We're okay, that works.
Okay, don't put pound out and video together. It was a music video.
It was a music video. Yes, indeed. We're gonna do another music video too. Hopefully soon we might do a campaign with it for the I Do Not Consent song. So that's something
Yeah,
that we're
I
thinking about for a
mentioned
summer project. We
Right.
have coming.
Events.com
Mhm.
with Spike Cohen. We have an event with Spike.
Right.
So we're gonna shoot guns with him, have a VIP.
Is that Tasha's husband, Spike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
so we're doing an event with him,
And Tasha's coming too.
and she's going to be there too on July 17th. So
That'll
we're
be fun
flying
to
him
meet
down
him.
for that at the gun range that we like to shoot at there for our events.
Yeah, and hopefully the Muddied Waters podcast crew.
They are going to be there. Yeah,
their
Muddy Waters
fans.
will be there too at the
Yeah,
event.
Matt and
And then we'll be at the LPF con, so we're going to be tabling there.
in Lakeland.
Yeah. In Lakeland. So we'll be doing that. I'm
Not
not sure if we're
Orlando.
going to do Yow Revolution yet. We're still in the talks about that.
Yeah, thinking about y'all.
We have been invited, but we're
We
still
got
going
invited
to
to
see.
speak, but we're not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, more so
Maybe.
because they didn't materialize the speaking stuff yet.
Mhm.
And then we'll definitely be at Tom Wood's house.
Or Tom Woods.
I'm sorry, Tom Wood's 2000. Sorry, we were already
We
at Tom Wood's
already at
house.
Tom Wood's
Oh, I'm
house.
sure we'll be there.
Tom
again.
Wood's house is probably kind of stuck in your head right now, right? Just that
Yeah.
phrase, just Tom Wood's house.
Every Friday, actually.
Yeah.
It's like it gives me Friday vibes, you know. Just like, we can house,
But yeah, we definitely
definitely going to Tom Woods 2000.
be
So
there.
you guys should
TomWoods2000.com.
go. TomWoods2000.com.
TomWoods2000.com. TomWoods2000.com. TomWoods2000.com.
Like we're not getting paid.
Yeah.
We just want to
We're
see
not
a
getting.
lot of
I
our
wish I was
Liberty
getting
friends.
paid.
I just want to see my Liberty friends at
Yeah.
Tom Woods 2000. So go. Free Thought Project guy might go. Actually, I think he is going. Carrie Weather.
There's a lot of
should
people
go.
going to Tom Woods 2000. It's going to be insane. It's going to
Michael
be bigger than Freedom
Bolden,
Fest and
Michael
Pork Fest
Malice,
combined.
Dave Smith.
Yeah,
I think Bob Murphy's probably going.
maybe. We don't know.
I don't know.
I got to check.
But yeah. Anyway,
There's gonna be a
hope
lot of
to see
people.
you there, Reed. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see if I'm going to Pork Fest and Freedom Fest. When is it? It's in
October
Ooh.
16th. It's a Saturday in October, middle of October.
all right. I can probably
Basically-
make it. I don't really have an excuse not to go, so
You
I'll
should
probably
go.
be there.
It's going to be probably the. I mean, actually, since you're going to Freedom Fest and Pork Fest, you'll be able to
Wow.
confirm or deny, hopefully confirm, that it was the biggest, craziest, most fun Liberty event of
Whoa.
2021.
Oh, that's exciting. You actually will be able to say
Right.
and compare.
You can compare.
And I'll also probably be able to say I was the only guy that had him on for an episode with sunglasses on. So
That's
gotta
true.
go. Yeah.
You should come in with those glasses. There you
Oh, I
go.
should. Yeah, that would be great.
Wish we were going to Freedom Fest though. Unfortunately, so many people have asked us if we're going. Same thing with Pork Fest,
Yeah.
which I heard got sold out. So congrats to
Yes.
them. That's awesome. I think that just shows how many people are tired of being locked in
Right.
from last year. And they're just like, I'm coming out. Pennsylvania convention, LP convention coming out. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you see, Reed, at the end of this year.
Yeah. We hope you have a lot of fun. We'll definitely like all your pictures if you post them.
Will do. Yeah, I've had you guys for over an hour, so I'll let you go. But thank you for coming on. It's cool to meet you guys after following you all this time and have you on my show. And keep up the good work. You're doing good stuff. So I'll just leave you guys the last word. If there's anything else you want to say, I have your, let's see, I got your Facebook, both your Twitters and your YouTube channel plugged in the description.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else you want to plug or anything else you want to say, we'll do that and then I'll end the
Sure.
stream.
Yeah. Volcomic.com. VOLCOMIC.com. If you want to see the campaign, that'd be the cool thing.
treesofliberty.org if you want some shall not be infringed patches.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Funevents.com
For the next event.
I thought
Yeah.
you were gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
If you
your
wanted to
friends
see
are
Spike.
wrong about the lockdown.com. No. Wait, dang it.
That's
Tom's.
the different
That's
show.
TomWoods2000.com. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hope to see you around or in person or both.
Probably in
And,
person.
Stay free,
Yeah.
enjoy life, make your friends, grow your network.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
With some cool heavy equipment.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That's all sure to happen. So thanks, guys. And everyone, I will be, let's see, I'm streaming, I think tomorrow maybe. So thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.